My name is Nate Lammy, and I am the Professional Development and Training Specialist here at Flat for Education. For this excerpt, I wanted to show you folks how to use the notation editor. This is the core of our product for Flat for Education. Whether you are a brand new teacher who's never used a notation editor before, someone who is coming over from one of our competitors, or just want to see what our platform can do and what makes us unique, this is a video for you. This is also a great opportunity or great resource to share with your students. While initially, when I'm describing this is for teachers to use, this is also a great resource to send to your student composers. Don't forget that your students have the same access to a notation editor as you do, and while you might be using your notation editor to create material or to create lessons or to create templates, they might just be using it to create music. Hopefully you are too. So, before we get started with the notation editor, I wanted to show you just how to get to it. So here is my first bit of a score here, and when you are ready to start composing, you are going to go from the home page, which is right here, to the score library. As you can see when you click on score library, you're going to have a long list of scores you've written, imported, and folders. So if you are to create a brand new score, it will appear here on the bottom, or if you were to create a new collection, it will appear at the top. So using collections is a great way to organize yourself. So if you are working on, let's say, a unit of short excerpts of American music, you could title it Short Excerpts 7th Grade. And anytime you compose, you have the ability to move it into one of those folders. So if I scroll on down to Old MacDonald, I can move to a collection, Short Excerpt 7th Grade. When you are ready to compose your first score or your 100th score, you can start by clicking on Create Score. You have three options here. I'm going to focus on creating a new score for this video, but know that you can import a PDF or import a previous XML. So if you are coming to us from a different company or from a different material generator, you can import your XMLs directly into Flat. So if you already made a resource a long time ago that you love and you want to just try it on our platform, you're welcome to do so. When you make a new score from scratch, you'll be prompted to give it a title. So we'll call this one Test. After we do that, we'll scroll over to the instruments. Obviously, you can select from the family here. I'll have an orchestral flute, but I can also type it in. And I'll add a piano. And I'll do some drums as well. The difference between our HQ and our non-HQ is that these were recorded recently. They have slightly higher quality MIDI recordings. These are still perfectly fine. They're just slightly different. After you create your score, you'll be brought into the notation editor itself. And this is very familiar if you've ever used a notation editor. In that sense, if you press F, you get F. If you press G, you get G. You also have the ability to click in and either generate chords, or in this case, down here in drum set, you can use it to select what measure you want or rest you want to be on and hit the letter that is down here. In that case, I hit J for mid-tom, and I'll do H for an open hi-hat. When you are entering a chord, if you press the first letter, let's go here. In this case, I'm making an F chord. I can now hold Shift and do A, C, E, and it will create the chord that I've asked for. You might have noticed that it put my E in the wrong octave. If I highlight it, hit Alt or Command, and then do the right arrow key, you can move notes in an octave. You can also use the arrow keys to navigate in general. So if you do not want to use your mouse and only want to use your keyboard, that is the way to do it. So if I want to go here and delete an F and now turn it into an A minor chord, I have that ability. If I instead wanted to turn this into an A major chord, I can very easily click on the key signature, change to C sharp, or sorry, D major, and then see how it has a natural here. I can change that either by using arrow key up and down or switching it from sharp to natural here. So anything, as you can see, that highlights green when you hover over it will allow you to change it. So if I go here, it will add measures. If I go here, I can change my tempo. If I go to here, I can edit the instrument. If I go to here, I can change my time signature. Anything that highlights green, including the text, is a way for you to edit the work. So, since I am here, with clicking on the text here, I can change my subtitle. I can go to my different lyrics, and so on and so forth. I also have the ability to change my instruments here. So if I decided partway through I wanted to add a saxophone, I can add my instrument here, type in soprano sax, and the soprano sax appears here at the bottom. If I don't like my soprano sax there, I can hold onto these dots and drag them wherever I would like it to be. Speaking of layout of my score, we have an entire section called Layout and Settings here. This is very common in the sense of how you would want your score to look. So if you click on Pages, you have the option to change the margins. You also have an option to change your paper size. You have your staves. So here is a way that you can change how many measures you have. If you want your music to be bigger, the lower the rastal size, the bigger the notation actually is. So if you're working with a group who needs their notation a bit bigger, I would recommend rastal size 0. And you can also increase or decrease the space in between the actual measures themselves. If for any reason you have an instrument that is not playing, you can hide them by clicking on this button. This allows you to choose when those instruments are hidden. Measures, you can change how many measures are allowed in each system. So in this case, if I only want 2, it will push them down. I can change my measure number options. So if I only want them to start after the anacrusis, if there was one, in this case, it's assuming this is an anacrusis. I'm going to turn that back off. It's a very exciting option here. We have note head changing options. So if you would like to color code your system, you can change it either directly to Boomwhacker's, which is rainbow color coded to the Boomwhacker system. And in this case, instead of doing just Boomwhacker colors, I'm going to show off that my Fs are purple, because in this key, I want my students to start realizing, oh, if I see a purple F, that might mean it's F natural rather than F sharp. A great tool for as you're teaching your musicians in new keys, here's how you might identify the note. An even better way to use that is to maybe change it just to the letter. We have automatic note names, automatic solfege, and even these lovely Aiken shapes. And for our non-European folks, we have both movable and fixed-o. I, here as one of the very few Americans here at the company, swear by movable, but I'm outnumbered with my friends for fixed. There is a number of other features that the platform has that I'll show you in just a moment, but navigating the toolbar is also very important to know. First and foremost, at the top right, you can see 2 very important buttons. Number 1, your students and you can share their score. So if I was to change who is the owner, or if I change the permissions, I can change it to be private with a link, public to anyone at my school, or just for myself. I also can see when the last edit was. So as you can see here, these are my changes when I first opened it. If I don't like those changes, I can just click on this and roll back, restore this version. And now I'm back at square one. This will allow you to check your students' work as they're working on it. And it takes away the opportunity for your students to say, my dog ate my homework, because I'm not sure many dogs know how to press this button. Over on the left now, you have that instrument settings option, similar to clicking on flute. You have the ability to click here and manage your instruments. You have all of your rhythmic options here, so if I wanted to have an F, but I wanted this to be a whole note, I can change it to that, change it to half note, I can press period, add a dot. If I had a series of eighth notes here, and I wanted all of them to be slurred, I can press this, put my phrase marking here, and I have those options as well. The way these work is that if you notice, if I was to hover over whole, it has the number 1. So if I click on this and press 1 on my keyboard, it will change it to a whole note. But if I go to articulation, now that articulation is up, if I press 1, it will add a staccato. So depending on the menu you are in, changes your hand keyboard options. Ornaments is obviously your trills, your tremolo. Dynamics allows you to do your expression. Measures is where you can add and subtract measures. You have your page breaks, you have your key signatures, you have your repeats, and so on. And text is where you can annotate. So in this case, I want to add an annotation, G, but maybe here I'd like to add some lyrics. Now, to show you a couple more fun, exciting things, I wanted to jump over to a composition I call the Composition Sandbox. This Composition Sandbox has very specific things our notation editor can do for your different instruments and groups. As you can see, it's a bit of a mess, but here I've showed off that we have automatic Kodály hand signs. If you go to Voice, Lead, and you go to Layout and Styles, you have an option here. Let me just make sure I find it. When you click on the instrument, there we go. When you click on the instrument here, you have the option to turn on your Kodály notation. So if I go to here and I turn off, you will see when I hit save, my Kodály hand signs went away. But if I click it back on, use Kodály, I want it to be my hand signs, and we are in the key of C, so my starting pitch is going to be C natural. All of a sudden, we have my correct Kodály hand signs. And I'll do it a little smoother this time, but if I click on recorder, this instrument has recorder fingerings already. So if you notice here, if I turn them off, they'll disappear. But when I turn them back on and edit the music, any note that I write in will have the fingerings done. So C, if I delete some stuff, it will add your fingerings automatically. In guitar, you have a very similar thing. When you turn on your chord grids, it will allow you to have chord grids appear above the notes. But along with that, you also can use the tablature to enter notes as it is. So if I want to have this specific note, I can press it using the keyboard or the fretboard. And if I was to enter a note here, it will also generate tab for it. It will even generate rhythmic tab. So if I want to show off that these are going to be eighth notes, it will add the tails down below as well. I already showed you that when you click on drum set, it gives you the buttons, the pads, if you will. So if I want 3 side kicks, I can go B, 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 and we'll add them. When we have a piano is put on the bottom. So if your students want to use a keyboard, they can click on C5 and it will add the notes that way. For violin, we have ways for them to show off the different bowings. So if I go to articulation and I type an A here, you can decide if it's an up bow or a down bow. You can also add your pizzicato, arcos, and other information. And finally, if you do want to have a little bit of fun with your students, if you select the cat sound effect, you get to hear what a cat might sound like singing. So, with all of that here in the notation editor, the last thing to show you is the different ways you can use the notes. So, if you are scrolling along rather than wanting to read along, you can change your display mode from notation to your classic Guitar Hero, where if I do this, as I hit play, it will scroll along. I can easily switch it back to page view. You have options to export. You can change it to PDFs, you can do XMLs. Obviously, you can print. So if you want to print out your scores, it allows you to either print everything, or you can choose to print different parts depending on your needs. Last but not least, if you want to hear the work you're doing, you can either press plus here, or if you press spacebar in whatever measure you're in, it will play. That's about everything of the notation editor. I hope you found this video informative, and I'll be right back with some more information.